Yes,
We're
here
live.
we are.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Business Funsize Live. 10 minutes of business-related topical Q&A every Friday at 10 a.m.
Hello, Bertie.
Hello, Debbie. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm in a different place again. I'm just moving around. Yeah, I'm just giving you, my nan's house, my holiday house, my friends' houses. So it's a lot of behind the scenes. What are we talking about today, Bertie?
Today, we are talking about pricing your products and services. Because it's always one of those awkward ones, isn't it? Especially when you're new, it's like, what do I charge for this stuff that I'm doing?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most difficult things that entrepreneurs go through, whether they've got products or services. Like, it's so hard, isn't it? And it's so linked up with your money values and how you feel about money and your family history and all of this stuff and your sense of worth and deserving. Like, it's not just an easy, that's the price. Although it could be, it should be, but generally we agonize over this stuff for ages and ages.
Yes, it could, should, and it would, but that's it. It's never the case, is it? We always always worry about it. So what are your, if anyone's got any questions, comments, whack them in the comments as always, and we will get around to you and answer if you are watching this live. Also, hit that like button. That would be lovely and really help us just feel important and special on this beautiful Friday morning when we're sat inside. So, so what are your top tips on pricing then, Dudar?
I think, it's really difficult because lots of people then look around at their competitors and they go, this is this price and that's this price. But that's really, you get stuck in the mud with that, because it's like, how much is a bottle of wine? You can buy a bottle of wine for $2.99 and you can buy a bottle of wine for £3,000. So when you're kind of looking around at that competitor stuff, you can get totally lost in the mire, and you don't want to be pricing yourself against other people. You want to be digging into the transformation that you bring, the value that you bring, the years of expertise that you bring to the table, and all of that stuff. And a race to the bottom is never good. So that's the first thing. Try and avoid, you got to look around and do that comparison, but then you really need to sink in with what feels good for you. And I think that it's about a transaction, isn't it? Essentially, if you can take money out of it a little bit and just think, what am I giving people? What's the experience? What are they going to get out of it? What's that end result? And focus on that. And then the other thing is, remember that you need to pay your pension, your holiday pay, sick pay, any coaches that you're working with, any online courses that you've done, the electricity to run your laptop, your mobile phone. Like, there's so many costs to running a business. And I think the mistake I made when I first started my business was like, this is an hour of my time. And I just thought what that hour would be worth. And I didn't think of all the other kind of hidden costs of running a business. And that's why I didn't really make any money for the first couple of years, because I didn't properly look at everything involved in running my business.
Yeah, I think that's a common mistake, isn't it? When it's, especially when you have those years of experience, which, without blowing our own trumpets, we do, right?
Yeah.
We have that experience. We've been there. We've made the mistakes. We've got the T-shirt, had the highs, had the lows, and all the other stuff. But it's when you're doing something that comes so naturally. So, we're both coaches, so we'll both probably just have an hour's conversation with somebody, right? But those conversations, to the right people, can be transformational. It can actually completely change either their mindset or the practical things that they do to run their business, which can actually save them days, weeks, months, like completely change the trajectory. So that's what you're paying for, isn't it? So if you're trying to price your product and service, you're not paying specifically for the hour. You're paying for, what is the result? What is the transformation, essentially?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's another side to this that people don't really consider, is that when people are paying for your services, they assign a value attached to it based on the price point that you give it. So if I'm selling you a bottle of wine and I'm charging you $2.99, you're going to think this bottle of wine is going to taste shit.
Yeah.
And when you sip it, you're going to have, this is a shit bottle of wine in the back of your head. I could sell you the same wine in a different bottle at a different price point, and you're going to think this is the best wine ever. And when you sip it, that's the phrase. Now, you can't turn shit wine into good wine. That's not what I'm saying. But we have an experience when we buy stuff as well based on its value. And it's really interesting. I put my prices up recently, and a new client said, I'm taking myself really seriously because they seem like serious prices. And so she was bringing more of herself to the table. She was really invested in doing the work that we were discussing because she was paying a higher price point. And that made her kind of pull her socks up and go, I've got to do this stuff. I can't fanny around anymore. I'm paying this woman all this money. So I think that also when people pay stuff, they bring a different themselves to the table. And I think that's important to think about as well. And people don't want the cheapest thing. Unless you're, when I was on benefits, yeah, I would buy the cheapest thing because I didn't have any money. But once you're not on the breadline, you buy things based on their perceived value and based on the story that you tell yourself about how worth it you are. That's why people buy Audis. You could buy a Ford, still goes up the motorway, but you're telling yourself a story. And so if you price your stuff too cheaply, you might actually be putting people off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the free thing, like the value is what you were just saying is really, really important as well, because you can give you could have the same conversation with somebody for free, and you can have the same conversation with someone and they've paid you £1,000 for it. And you can guarantee the people that have paid you £1,000 for it are actually going to take those things, almost hang on every word and take action, which is no justification to artificially putting up your prices. That isn't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you are thinking that, well, actually, it's only an hour of my time, I could give this for free, the chances of the people actually taking action on that is much lower. And I've found that again from experience. I think, if I've done sort of free webinars, free workshops and things like that, you don't see the people might just watch it in the background. Whereas if someone has paid for it, of course, you're going to pay attention, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. And so I think about money as this idea of a transaction, and like, what are you both saying about yourself when you put your prices and when they pay? Like, is there dignity to the price? Is there dignity to them paying you? Is there dignity more than just money? It's just a flow of cash, isn't it? And the really interesting thing about money is that it just arrives out of nowhere, which sounds a bit weird, but I remember when I first started my first business, I moved to a bigger house and I was like, shit, how am I going to pay this? And then I just earned more money just naturally. And when I bought my first house, I was like, oh my God, like all my bills have doubled. And suddenly my business stepped up to meet that. So I think there is something vibrational and woo-woo about it that kind of happens when you level up a little bit. It's really interesting. I don't think it's just about, and it's made up, isn't it, really? A £10 note, what is it? And most of our money is just numbers in a computer screen. I don't have access to all of that money. If we all took our money out of the banks, they would fold, wouldn't they? Like if we did a run on the banks, there isn't as much money in the world as we think there is. It's all a weird construct. So, oh my God, it's just, it's really interesting. But I think when you're pricing, think about everything about your business. I need to pay a pension. I need to put money into a pension. So each client I've got puts a percentage towards my pension. Oh, so Kate's just said, I like the idea of money as an energy exchange. Yeah, because we feel something, don't we, when we pay for something?
Exactly.
There's a feeling that we get.
It's interesting that Kate's put that, because that was going to be my next point. This piece of advice was given to me recently, and I became much more comfortable with the whole concept of charging for my own time and my own services. And it is like an exchange of, you're exchanging. It's not the time. It isn't the 60 minutes or the 45 minutes or the 20 minutes, whatever. It's, it's the exchange. And if you're giving something, then to receive something in return, that's fair. It's a fair exchange.
Yeah.
And I think that's always the way to look at it. And it gets easier, doesn't it? It gets easier as sometimes you just have to do it. But the amount of free consultation calls, things like that I did right at the beginning, and they're then the people that I didn't then, almost close the sale, as it were, that then a year later, it's almost like they're in the same position. And now it's like, look, actually, should we just do something serious about this now? And then, start charging and start working with them properly. So those things can happen as well. So what about products then? Like we've talked about services, what about product pricing? Like if someone's launching a new product, what do we do there?
Oh, I love it. Again, it can be a piece of string. Like I've worked, I'm a business coach with a big house. So you tend to work with artists and stuff like that. And I have artists who are like, I've done this painting and I'm going to sell it for 20 quid. And then I show them people on Instagram selling similar stuff for like £2,000. And they're like, oh my God, You know, it's that's tricky as well. And I think if you're making the products, oh my God, if you're hand making products and you're putting love into it and it's years of expertise and it takes you time, one of the things people don't do is measure how long it takes them to do stuff. So just do that and don't pay yourself anything less than minimum wage. And then think, well, you know, if I'm making a vase or I'm making a coaster or whatever it is, what would feel good? What feels good to me to get? Because you don't want to be selling stuff and feeling like, oh, that feels horrible. It feels like I've undersold myself, because you get that gut reaction. So I think, trust your intuition with this stuff. And here's the thing, you have to do as much marketing to make £10,000 as you have to do to make £100. Like, you have to be present, you have to be there, you have to put stuff out, you have to send out emails. So why not make your business easier and give yourself good prices that kind of honor the work and the value and the time and effort put into stuff and the materials of making those products? Because you can find people charging all sorts of money for things.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I suppose, it's figuring out what your time's worth, isn't it? And actually, it's just, I think they're not competing on price as well, because it's very easy to think that it's just a painting, it's just an hour of my time, it's just this. And I think if you're just in front of it, it's just like, remove that from your vocabulary altogether, and actually, you know, focus on what it is. Like, if I'm not into art or anything like that, but if I was commissioning something, like, I would be excited about that. You know, if that was like a picture of my dog or family or something like that, like, that's what I'm buying. It's that experience, isn't it? It isn't just. And I think that's how really it should be. That's how you should be thinking of it yourself. And it's very difficult, isn't it? Because it plays on the uncomfortable feelings that we have, and almost like bragging or big-headedness. But actually, sometimes you should just say, what I do is fucking good. This painting is like, people will pay for that, right? Yeah. And you know, this is it really is something that people do have to get more comfortable with. Like you say, it's only a few numbers in the bank. The money doesn't actually really exist. Yeah, it's just about the exchange. And if you're putting your heart and soul into it, be it whether you're a coach, whether you are an artist, or, you know, even if you're just making sort of mass producing products, if you're producing something that you love, then make sure you're pricing it appropriately, because competing on price is a downward spiral all the time.
Yeah, you don't want to be the bargain busters of everything that you're doing, do you? You don't want to be going down. I think also, like you said, like if you're buying a painting or something, maybe that's a legacy, or that's something you're going to pass on to your children, or maybe it's something that you're going to treasure and hold on to and love, and there's value in that. And here's the thing, why would we work for ourselves on the breadline? Why are we not creating a comfortable existence for ourselves? Like, so many people are like, oh my God, I'm struggling, I'm not bringing enough money. And it's like, well, just up your prices a little bit. Just feel that you're worth it. You know, look at the money stories that you're telling yourself. You know, you have to work hard to have money. Money's the root of all evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. All of this stuff that we all have swirling around in our head, it doesn't serve us, does it? It's not helpful. It's not getting us where we want to go. And actually, if we can just think, well, I am worth it and I am worthy and I do add value and the stuff that I do is great and people love it, that's what you need to kind of dig into. And honestly, if people love your stuff, they will find the money for it. So when I was a single mum on benefits, I bought a sofa from Hopewell's in Nottingham, which is a pretty posh shop, for £1,000 on benefits, because I wanted a sofa that would last for donkey's years. That's and cheap. I found the money.
Well,
you what?
That's cheap for Hopewell's. That's bargain.
It was in a sale. I was like, yes, it's in the sale. This is a sofa. You know, I found the money to pay for that. I scrimped and I saved and I put the money aside because I wanted something that wouldn't just fall apart in 3 years' time. And I wanted something that was comfortable, and I wanted something that was made in the UK. And all of those values were really important to me. So I found the money. You know, I could have gone to IKEA or something, bought a sofa, and they're fine, it's grand, you know, whatever. But I love my sofa, and 10 years on, I still love my sofa, and I sit on it and I think, oh, this isn't it, by the way, but I love my sofa. And you will find the money. So if people love your stuff, don't be like, oh God, nobody's going to buy it because I've inched the prices up by 10%. They'll still buy it, and they might actually love it more. Because they're like, woo, look at me buying my £1,000 sofa or whatever that is. You know, it tells them a story about themselves.
There's a lot of psychology that goes behind that stuff.
Yeah. You know, I want nice things.
That's it.
Everybody's nice is different though, isn't there? It wasn't I love a John Lewis, and I read that Boris Johnson has just said, oh my God, his house, the reason that he had to redo it was because it was a John Lewis hellhole. And I was like, God, John Lewis is this is the pinnacle. Where's he shopping? It's like, where's Boris shopping his furniture? If it's, where's he going? And this is the thing, everybody has their own like levels. I was in a networking thing yesterday, and a lady who was a lawyer said, I charge £250 an hour. That's a lot of money. I feel bad charging it. And I said, I have a client that charges £2,900 a month for her services. She was like, what? And I was like, people pay it because of the transformation that they get, and they know that she can help them get where they want to go. Everybody's version of value is different. So I think sometimes we bring our own poverty to the table, our own feelings about money. That's not necessarily how our clients feel about money. No, and we're be doing ourselves a disservice, aren't we? I don't have any money, so they can't have any money. But that's not true for everybody.
No, that's it. And that's what I was going to say before I shushed myself, because I realized you were still going. I wasn't shushing you, I was shushing me. It's very easy to project your own, sort of past history and perceptions onto what you think other people will pay. So if you've gone through, like a period of hardship and stuff like that, and there's been times in my life where I've been absolutely fucking broke. Yeah. And then there's been times where it's been the opposite end of the scale. So it's very easy to project those onto other people. But a lot of the time you just don't know. And like, you've almost got to get rid of those perceptions and just go out there and just test it, because you can very often just limit yourself, especially with pricing. We've gone. Oh, go on.
I know. I've got a final thing. Isn't it? But also, we make assumptions about other people based on our stuff. And I've had people say, oh, I can't afford your services, but I know they're driving in a brand new convertible Audi. It's like, you might say to yourself, you can't afford my services, but you're choosing where to spend your money, and people choose where to spend their money. And I've dropped my services for clients before, and then I found out that they owned outright a house in London. It's like, what? Like, I'm reducing my services and you own a house in London outright. Like, I don't own a house in London outright in Nottingham, let alone the capital city. So also, don't make assumptions about your clients, because they might have just inherited a ton of money. They might be driving around in an Audi. They might be a property tycoon and own 50 different properties across the county. You don't know that stuff just from meeting them. We make assumptions. So be careful that you're not projecting your own stuff onto other people.
Yeah. It's actually now one of my, and this sounds really arrogant, but I'm going to share this with you, Debbie, because it might be the same for you. It's now one of my red flags. If I go through a call with somebody and they ask me for a discount at the end, it's a no. As in, not a no to the discount, it's a no to working with them, because already, they are not going to see value in the stuff that I'm going to do. They've already priced it cheaper, so it's already a non-starter for me. So I have lots of things that would stop me from working with people, and that's actually one of them.
That makes a good gatekeeper then, doesn't it? Because you're kind of giving yourself a sense of them and what they would be like to work for. And if they're discounting your services, what are they doing to their own services? Like, how do they value the things that they put out there as well? And I think that's, it's so wrapped up in all of this. Ooh. It's just money. It's just money, guys.
It's only money. It's only money. Well, look at that. We've gone well over today, haven't we? 18 minutes and 46, 48, 49 seconds. It was good. Yeah. I was going to say, not to put you on the spot, Dudar, but next week, because I wanted to speak about putting your prices up today. Would you like to speak about that next week? Continue with the pricing thing?
Yeah.
Good, because I think there's a lot more we can talk about money. I think if one of the big things that people don't do enough is increase their prices for lots of different reasons. So let's talk about that next week. That was easy, wasn't it?
Putting your prices up. Cara says that sounds good. So we'll see you back here next week at 10.
We'll see you here next week, 10 o'clock. And yes, we'll see you then. Thank you very much. Debbie, it's been a pleasure yet again. See you next Friday.
Bye.